What's up, nerds and nerdettes and wee little nerdlings all? It's your buddy Big Johnny G, the Two Gun Fix-It presents Legendary Gaming. What's up, everyone? Thank you for joining me. I'm your buddy Big Johnny G, and today I'm going to teach you how to play Horrified Universal Monsters. So if you're a fan of the Universal Monsters and you love board games, the marriage of these two things should be something that you're going to really enjoy. So when you join me down at the table, my friends, and I will show you how to play Horrified Universal Monsters.
Sorry to disappoint you. Huh? You triggered my trap card!
I remember fondly growing up in the mid-70s watching the reruns of the old Universal Monster movies. How much I loved them. They scared me. The Abbott and Costello one made me laugh. It touched so many emotions back then as a child, seeing this for the very first time, encountering what Dracula is supposed to be, what Frankenstein is supposed to be, Wolfman, Gillman, Invisible Man, the Mummy, all for the first time being introduced to these concepts as a child. And they've stayed with me ever since. So to see a game based on the Universal Monsters, well, we go down the table and let me show you how this game is played. So after you have the board set up in the middle of the table, in an easy space for everyone to be able to reach everything at, your first thing you're going to do is you're going to take the terror marker here. You're going to put it on a clear stand, and then you're going to place it on the 0 space of the terror track. If you're playing a solo game, it's going to go on the number 3 spot. You know, they don't have a lot of faith that only one person is here to help them. You're going to take all the villager standees, or movers as the game calls them, and you're going to set them up on their own plastic stands, clear stands, and you're going to set those 10 villagers off to the side. You're going to be needing them as the game goes on. The dark deck is the monster deck. You're going to shuffle this and then place it off to the side of the game board. And along with it, take those 3 black dice and put them somewhere off to the side of the board as well. Now, the monsters that you choose and how many of them is going to be a way to set the difficulty of the game. Generally speaking, the number of monsters is the easiest way to judge the difficulty of the game, but then each individual monster does have its own difficulty. So you could have an easy game with 2 difficult monsters, which would be a little bit tougher than an easy game with 2 easy monsters. Now, each monster mat is going to have all the information on the back of it for the setup of each and every monster. You can use this as a guide overall on how to set the monsters up. They each have their own special unique items and places that will get overlaid on the board. If, for example, you are setting up a starter game, a basic game using Dracula and the creature from the Black Lagoon, Gillman, then you're going to have to pull out their appropriate tokens. Dracula has 4 coffins that you're going to need to pull out, while the Gillman has a camp overlay that's going to go right over the camp spot on your map. And he also has a boat marker standee, and you're going to slip that into one of the clear bases. Now, if you're not using either of them, you're not going to bother pulling these out. You'll pull out the appropriate tokens for the monsters that you have chosen. Now, you're going to take the frenzy marker, and you're going to place that on a clear stand. And the monster that you have chosen that has the lowest frenzy score, which is the score in the upper left-hand corner with a fire mark on it, the creature that you have chosen, the monster you've chosen that has the lowest frenzy number, is going to get that frenzy marker. And this will make a difference during the monster's phase as to who goes and when. Now, the bag, the satchel bag, the little black sack that you have, you are going to take all 60 of the item tokens and place them inside the bag and give it a nice good shake and mix them up as best as you can and put that off to the side, because now we're ready for the player setup. However you decide, whether you want to choose which heroes that you and the other players are using, or if you want to choose them randomly, maybe face them all down and shuffle them up and everyone gets a pick. However you do it, decide which of the heroes that you want to use, and then you're going to take the appropriate hero mover or standee, and you're going to attach that to a base of the same color. Let's take a look at the hero card, or badge as the game calls it. At the very top center of each of these character badges, you're going to find the number of actions that you have each time it's your turn. Most have 4. The Explorer has 3, and that's to balance out the fact that the Explorer can use the special action of hers to move to any non-water spot on the board. And there's also a 5. That's because the Mayor has no special actions. Now, as I was saying, special action, if you look down near the bottom, each of the character badges, hero badges, will list what its individual special ability is. Right below that, you see the hero's title, and below that, at the very bottom, it'll tell you where the starting location is for your character, for your hero. Example, the Explorer, with 3 actions, she gets to start at the camp. Now, the deck of white cards are the character perk cards. You're going to shuffle them up. Now, before you place it off to the side, though, you're going to deal 1 card to each player. And that is the perk each player has starting the game off with. Since this is a cooperative game, don't feel the need that you have to keep your card a secret. Now, just before we started with the player setup, the last thing we did was putting all the item tokens in the black satchel bag. So at this point now, you're going to randomly, blindly draw 12 of these out and place them where they say they're going to be placed. Why don't we take a quick look at the item tokens? There are 3 colors of items. You have the blue, the red, and the yellow. And these denote different purposes for each of these. The red items represent physical, something physical that can be done to find clues or fight off your monsters. The blue items are likewise intellectually based items to help you in your quest to free and save the town. And finally, the yellow item tokens represent spiritual items that will help strengthen you in your battle against these monsters and help you in gathering clues for them, just because they're so spiritually powered against the creatures of the dark. Now, each of these, regardless of the color, will have a number at the very top. This number denotes the strength value of that particular item, and that will come into play during the course of the game at various times. Right below the picture is the name of the item, and below that, you're going to find the location listed that this item in particular will be left at. At this point, with the board out, the heroes at their listed starting spaces, the monsters at their listed starting spaces, and any tokens for those monsters placed out on the board, the 2 decks shuffled, the dice ready to be rolled, you, my friends, are now ready to start your game of Horrified Universal Monsters. The game is broken into a hero phase and a monster phase, and then repeat. So why don't we take a look at the hero phase? During your hero's turn, you get to take a number of actions as listed at the top of your character badge. Why don't we take a look at what those 7 options that you have are? You can opt to move your hero. You can move 1 space for each action that you spend. You cannot enter the water, and to cross it, you're going to have to use one of the bridges. Now, keep in mind that any villagers that are out in the game at this time, you're going to be able to move with you if they are in your spot. They will move with you on that move action. As you're moving, keep in mind that monsters are not going to prohibit any way, shape, or form your movement. You can move through any monster spot and not get attacked. Although if you stop in their spot, it may leave you and any villagers with you ready to be attacked. So be careful moving through and where you stop. You can take another action to specifically move villagers. If a villager is in your spot, you can use an action to move them to an adjacent spot. Likewise, if a villager is in an adjacent spot, you can use that action to move them to your spot. Just like the heroes, the villagers cannot move through the water spaces. Each hero has a listed special action, other than the mayor, but she gets an extra overall action. Now, you can use one of your actions to activate your hero's special action. Each hero has their own unique ability that they can do in this instant. So if you're choosing heroes instead of randomly picking them, this may be a reason why you pick one over the other. A very important action in this game is the pickup action. You can pick up any amount of items on the same spot that you are on. Now, any items that you have will also open up another action for you, and that's share. You can share any amount of items with any other player that's on your same space. They don't have to give anything back. Nothing is expected. You can give as many items as you want with the share action. Now, the last two possibilities you have for actions are both tied in with the monsters. One is called the advance action. Each monster has an advance, something that is going to happen, something that you can do, some clue that you can find or action you can take that is going to advance closer to being able to defeat the monster. And each of these advances are different, particularly specifically to each and every one of the monsters. So whatever that particular advance is, if you have an extra action that you haven't taken on your turn yet, or any action you haven't taken on your turn yet, you can use one of those actions to advance if you meet the requirements needed. Now, the last action that you have an option to take is to defeat the monster. If you have succeeded in doing all the requirements for your advance, then you are ready to attempt to defeat the monster. Each monster, just like the advance, has its own different unique way of being defeated. Maybe you need to drive away the gill man, or maybe you need to prove to the police that there is an invisible man. Whatever it is, or maybe just to stake Dracula. Whatever the defeat is, you have to be able to meet those requirements, but you can only do that when you complete the advance. And those are the actions that your hero can take. There is a sort of free action that I want to mention right now, and that is your perk card. Any perk card that you have, whether the one you started with or you've gained one because you've successfully taken a villager to their location, but we'll get to that, you'll get a perk card. You can use a perk card anytime on your hero's turn. It doesn't count as an action, so it's kind of like a free action. As long as you have a perk card, you can use it for free at any time on your hero turn. Now, as a note, I want to point out that in order to do the advance or to defeat any of the monsters, it's all tied up with the items that you have, the item tokens. And most of the time, it'll revolve around having a certain number of points within a certain color. Like it might say, show you an icon of 3 red cards with the number 6 in it. That denotes that you need to sacrifice, give up, throw back in the bag enough red item tokens that equal a minimum of 6. You can have more than 6 points, but you're not going to get change. So if it's a 6-point thing and you have 8 points, well, those 2 4s that you have making 8 points, you're going to lose 8 points. You're not getting 2-point change back. But that's how you're generally going to deal with this, and why you have the numbers strength listed at the top of each of the item cards. It is tied in with the advance and the defeat of the monsters. Now, on the monster phase, after you've done your actions, your hero turn is completed, and it's the monster phase. And the first thing you're going to do is you're going to draw one of the monster cards. This will determine everything that the monster is doing for that particular turn. At the top of the monster card, you are going to find a number in the top center. And that number is how many items you are going to blindly draw from the bag and place where they say to be placed out on the board. Next will be the event. What is actually happening right now? Taking a look at the bottom of the card, and you see this bar. On the light side, the left side, is going to be monster icons and maybe a fireball. So take a look at these icons. Let's say it is a bat, and let's say it's a webbed hand. That would be the symbols for Dracula and the creature from the Black Lagoon, Gillman. And that'll tell you that those monsters are going to move. If there's a fireball, which will usually be the last item on it, that means the frenzy monster. And yes, if it says bat and webbed hand and fireball, and Dracula has the fireball, he is going to go twice. He's going to go for himself, and then he's going to go because he's the frenzy monster. So some monsters will get to activate twice. That's pretty scary. Now, on the opposite side, the right-hand side, the dark side of the bar is telling you how many movement spaces, a little triangle arrow pointing to a number, 1, 2, 3, and that will tell you how many spaces each of the monsters, one at a time, will be moving. And then it shows one of the black dice with a number. That number is how many of those dice you are rolling. So the monsters, symbols, how much movement, and how many dice they get to attack. Yeah, they're going to get to attack. In fact, why don't we look at their attacks right now? You have 3 possible outcomes with these dice. Either a blank side, which is what you're really hoping for, what looks like a blast mark, which is a strike, which means you've been hit, and then finally there's an exclamation point. That is the monster's power. So the difference is, obviously, if you roll a blank, then the monster did nothing. No one got hit, no power got activated. Luck seems to have been on your side. If you roll an exclamation point, each monster has a different unique power that's going to activate. Maybe Dracula will hypnotically summon you, or maybe the Wolfman will go in a frenzy and bite everyone in his area. Each monster is different, so make sure you look at their particular listings for the power ability, the exclamation point. And the blast symbol means someone got blasted, someone got hit, someone got struck. The monster was successful in an attack. And each monster's attack is going to cause a damage. Heroes have the ability to stave off these damages if they have items that they're willing to sacrifice. You don't have to sacrifice an item. You may need it to complete an advance or a defeat coming up that you're hoping to do the next turn. So you might not want to discard anything. But if you have items and you are able to discard them, then for each hit you have against you, you can discard 1 item to protect yourself from that hit. Any amount of hits that come through, even just 1, is going to defeat you. Now, when you get defeated, that terror marker at the top of the board is going to advance. Now, when you get defeated, you get to keep all of your items and any perk cards that you had, and you're going to have to move your character and start over. The hospital is where you obviously now are starting from. But yes, you do get to keep your items and your perk cards, so that's pretty cool. Now, another way the terror marker can go up is if a villager is on the board. Villagers will come out during the monster phase, during the event part of a monster card. Some of the events bring out villagers, like Renfield, famously played by Dwight Frye in the original 1933 Dracula by Todd Browning. And in this case, it'll tell you where Renfield is placed. His card places him at the docks. And each of the villagers has listed on their standee, on their villager mover, they have listed where they need to go to. So if a monster kills a villager before it gets to its location, that also will move up the terror marker. However, if you successfully get a villager to their location safely, then you are going to get a new perk card for that. Now remember, villagers don't have items to sacrifice. You cannot sacrifice an item for a villager. So any one hit on a villager, that's it. They're dead. Terror marker goes up. Now you will continue hero phase to monster phase to hero phase and repeat and repeat and repeat until one of 3 conditions have been met. If the monster deck runs out and you have to draw a card and there are no cards left to draw, you have lost the game. If the terror tracker ever reaches the end of its run all the way to the right-hand side, that skull, that means you have lost the game. If the heroes succeed in each of the advances and each of the defeat modes for each of the monsters on the board, then the heroes, you, my friends, have won the game. There are so many options in this game between number of monsters and difficulties of each of those individual monsters that you have chosen to go up against that you're going to be able to find replayability in this game going on for a really long time, I think. So there you go. That's everything you need to know about how to play the game. Now, starting on page 11 of the rule book, is everything you need to know about each of the monsters in the game. I'm not going to go over each and every one of them specifically. It's going to get, I think, a little bit too long for this video. But really, there's nothing else for me to say besides what's written in the rule book from page 11 on. Because the monsters are dealt with perfectly. There's nothing I can say to simplify what's already on the pages concerning the monsters starting on page 11. So I hope you enjoyed this game as much as I have, my friends. This is a really fun, amazing game. And they have a standalone sequel to this, American Monsters. And we'll be taking a look at that in a few weeks as well. So thank you for joining me here, my friends. I'm your buddy Big Johnny G for Two Gun Pixie Presents Legendary Gaming. And I am out of here.